The opinions expressed in the following are those of its participants and do not necessarily reflect those of the producers and the Six Talk Podcast Network. Also, the following contains mature material and mild language, which may not be suitable for all audiences. Discretion is advised.
For Sunday night, December 12th, 2021, presented by Anime North, this is episode 55 of the Anime Roundtable Canada. Good evening from 6 Points, 10 minutes south of the Anime North compound in the Toronto West End. Mike Nicolas, joined this evening by Kevin Ng, Mohamed Sharmarke, and Geoff Greig. James Austin is off tonight. He's enjoying some family time, probably spiking his nephew.
Touchdown, Bears!
Wait. Spiking like if it's drinks or...
No, like a football.
Like a football.
You're not supposed to explain the joke, Mike.
It makes it more funnier. Every comedian knows that jokes that are explained are 10 times funnier.
This will be edited out, you know. A quick reminder that we want you to join in on the conversation. Old school email. Let us know what you think. AnimeRoundtable@gmail.com. We're on Twitter and Instagram at Anime Roundtable. The website, AnimeRoundtable.com, for show notes and past episodes. Twitch, YouTube, they've been activated. We have the Facebook group, and Discord is next. Okay, gentlemen, since James isn't here this evening, I have to face you guys alone. So I'm going to ask you guys quickly if you have any comments at our first attempt at a live stream. But before I ask for those answers, I will remind you, sooner or later, all three of you will have to face the camera as well.
That's fine.
So what's your take? How did that go? Because it was rough.
It means I'll get to dress up.
Now that you bring it up, James and I really didn't.
And that's fine too. You wear whatever you want. I just like to wear stuff that I bought, you know. That sounded kind of weird, but like I like certain things and I'll wear certain things, and if I'll have an opportunity to wear whatever I feel like at the moment that maybe I wouldn't have otherwise, then I'll do it.
You know what? Now that you brought this up, I was looking through my computer a couple days ago and I found some old photos from one of our Anime North tapings. I think it might have been 2008. And I looked at it. Geoff did the episode with us with Megan Swain. And
okay. I remember this episode, actually.
This is where the punchline's about to come. Geoff, I remember, was wearing Spock ears. If you remember this, Geoff. I don't know how well you remember this.
Yeah, so that would have been, I cosplayed the Gunner character class from Disgaea, and at the time, the elf ears were not really a possibility, which would have been more accurate. So
you went Spock ears.
Yeah, it was the closest thing, but that's interesting because that would have been maybe my second cosplay or something. So that would have been pretty early on.
Yes. And the punchline is, I looked through the audience pictures from that evening and I saw Kevin. I'm pretty sure that was Kevin. T-shirt and shorts.
Probably me. I almost never wear shorts anymore.
Yes, and I think this was the first time we met you too at the time.
Oh, really? It was that long ago.
Yeah, this might have been one of the first times we met you.
I feel like I definitely met James at a fan expo. And then with you, Mike, I think the first time was actually when I actually spoke with you was when I did go to York for a taping once. This was one of the episodes in the 40s during the old era, so to speak.
The 1940s. I could have recorded using transistor radios. I don't know if transistor radios. Probably that's like the truck thing. Never mind.
We have to script that one.
Yeah, I took that go bus to York and then kind of got lost. Like I knew it was in Bethune, but it was kind of tricky, like navigating for me at the time as a high school. Was I in high school or was I in first year uni? I don't remember anymore exactly when.
Sure
It's
I'm
pretty
pretty sure.
much the extreme opposite end of the campus as far as where buses deliver people.
I mean, it's a bit of a
Yeah.
journey.
I remember walking like a good 5 minutes at least to Bethune.
Is this like winter time?
This would have been like fall for sure, like maybe like October, November.
So you didn't take the underground?
I didn't know it existed.
That
'Cause-
was closed officially. Like, even my first year, it was famously locked up.
No, I'm pretty sure it was active when we were doing episodes back then, like
No,
07, 08.
it was closed from my first year, sort of infamously.
Oh.
My
Infamously.
memory's all blurry now, so
Yeah, I think I was in high school actually.
yeah, pretty sure of that part of it anyway. Okay,
Your,
so
your taping was fine, Mike.
you did okay?
I
No,
thought
it
so
was-
too.
There were definitely some things that, you know, I did comment on in the chat, and I wanted to comment on today, but I forget what they are now.
What did you want to comment on?
There was something about, like, I think maybe Japanese schools or something, but I forget.
I'll have to re-listen.
What were the topics that you talked about
We
again?
only talked about Totally Not Mark, and then we talked about plans for what we're gonna do
Yeah.
with the stream. We're gonna get to the Mark Fitzpatrick Toei situation a bit later on. The one thing I learned quickly is, right, as of now, we're probably not going to try Facebook for a while, at least until I get something cleared up, because you heard me mention right away the connection to the Facebook group and streaming on it got cut off almost instantly. And I kind of learned a little bit why, or at least I tried to Google it. And the only explanation that seems to make sense as to what could have happened was Facebook's worry about what content I was going to use. Seemingly, it worked under the assumption that I was going to use some sort of copyright image or music or material. And it never gave me the chance. I disagree with the decision because this was the first time I was streaming anything on Facebook. But since then I've tried to at least test starting some sort of live stream, whether it's on this computer, whether it's on my phone, and it locks me out each time. So, and it complicated the matters because when we tried to end the stream, it wouldn't properly let me end the stream because it said, you know, it was Facebook having its cake and eat it too. It wouldn't let me log in, wouldn't let me stream directly on Facebook, but it wouldn't totally sever the connection so that I can properly end the broadcast too on StreamYard. So I leave it. The next day, I look at the Facebook group, and it says that the stream, even though it's inactive, it said there's a clock on it saying it's been running for 14 hours, even though you can't get past the countdown. So I completely reset it. I completely deleted the StreamYard connection and redid it. But it'll probably, until I can figure this out, and there's a lot to learn here, it's unlikely we'll be using Facebook as a platform in the foreseeable for whatever we end up doing. So the StreamYard plan lets us stream to 3 platforms. Obviously, we've chosen 2 of them. Twitch, although I didn't keep the settings to archive it, so it's not available on VOD in any form. Sorry about that. But you can watch it on Facebook. So,
YouTube.
Thank you. Thank you very much. YouTube. And the channel's now active. We'll put in a link in the notes again, but if you search terms, Anime Roundtable, it's there. Now that there's an actual video there. But as stated back then, at this point, only specials, only Space Heater chats and interviews and maybe the On My Minds are set to be streamed and put on video. Regular episodes at this point will probably still be done on a traditional audio podcast like we're doing right now. So, yeah, lots to still work on. It was really rough around the edges. We used the templates that were provided, so the default templates for the episode. And over the next little bit, we'll try and personalize it and obviously make it look more polished. But it's from my standpoint, it's nice that we finally tried it, and hopefully it'll get used to it, and I'll warm up to it. Hopefully, the same way we've warmed up to doing it here remotely on Zencaster, and we'll have a good routine in place. To that end, we'll talk about the next stream after the taping tonight. Okay. The idea with doing a Space Eater chat like we did on, was it Wednesday, was to always start a conversation, like I said. And when we can follow up on next time the full table gathers. James isn't here to help us with the follow-up, but almost certainly we're going to, as I said, we're going to talk about Totally Not Mark in a bit. Actually, where do you want to start first? Do you want to start with the news concerning Totally Not Mark and follow up on that, or do you want to go back to the Cowboy Bebop live action? Which one do you want to start with?
I feel like Totally Not Mark's Toei. I mean, I don't know, man. It's just it's one of those conflicting situations where like Toei is so big that like nothing that we do will resonate with them whatsoever. They won't stop this type of action. Nothing we can do or say or plead with enough people to do or downvote or whatever isn't going to change their mind. And this clear level of almost targeted harassment on people who are doing nothing but promoting their goods. I mean, I feel like it's just the way the copyright system is, the way YouTube is, the way companies are, and it's just, you know, screaming into the void. It's what can you do?
Geoff, Kevin, you have a thought?
I think that it's a shame that happened to him and his team. Knowing how Toei is in their history of doing this, not surprised. I feel like, I guess it's hard. Obviously, when you've made that many videos, editing all of those after the fact there's no point in doing that, especially when you're supposed to have the fair use doctrine to protect you. But a bot bots don't care, because it's not as if Toei individually like checked every video. They run bots. They have like a bot set up to do that. I'm assuming they pay for a service to do that, don't they?
It's not even that. It's more in the sense of like they'll get a list of like a whole bunch of channels that are technically using some of their materials. The numbers might be on, the numbers might be off, but like it would cost them nothing to just be like hire a couple people to manually review it, or it's so short-sighted on their part as a company to do something like this. Like it's like the thing with Nintendo a few years back where there were copyright claiming Let's Plays and so forth. Just the negative reaction to any of this stuff should be enough for a company to be like, yeah, maybe we shouldn't poo-poo people who are promoting our stuff for free. But I don't know, man. You have investors, and
it's run by old Japanese men. What do you expect?
It's, if that's the case, doesn't money speak louder than whatever predetermined feelings they have about how things should be done copyright wise? I mean,
sometimes it doesn't matter. Like I can see for numerous Japanese companies in similar situations, it doesn't matter. A lot of the times with Japanese companies, and I know this is changing now, but like they just want to do things the way they've always done. Like they don't feel the need to expand outside, or they don't feel the need to address international concerns unless they were really forced to. Unless they had the philosophical knife to their throat.
We just have to wait. I feel like we just have to wait for them to, I don't know.
All the old people, all the old people need to die, and the young people will have the foresight to keep these things in mind. Or assuming the right person has to talk to the right executive in during I don't know, during a dinner or during a bar hangout, and maybe things will change.
I envision it being during some kind of a hot spring type situation, relaxing, or at a bathhouse or something, and then you just quietly tell them, "Hey, let's not do this."
I feel the need
Well-
to remind you that Japanese people live a long time in general, so
Well,
Yeah.
it might be a
my
while.
take, my take, if we're gonna use the cultural part, is a lot of the youth, as far as I could tell in Japan, have been so discouraged about the way things are. That's part of those lost decades, those lost years that we're talking about. Now, as leadership positions open up because of people in those positions dying,
Or
they're
retiring. I know
retiring.
it's less
But
likely in
there can be,
Japan, but retirements do happen.
but you wonder if a vacuum in that type of leadership it could develop because people are so discouraged. The youth can be so discouraged at this point.
Possible.
Even outside of leadership, the problem with this situation is that Toei is a very big company and it's also very far away. So the reverberations from what I'm imagining a fairly significantly American, or at least air
Western
quotes,
and
Western
mhm.
audience,
Mm.
It's worth noting. Mark is Irish, actually.
yeah. Well, but I still imagine most of the views are American. It's just kind of the way YouTube works. I could be wrong, but um, that's just kind of what happens. But regardless, it's the West. Japan probably isn't going to care as much. Like even like YouTube is, there's a presence there in Japan now, but it's still probably seen as like an American platform and something that needs to be policed and not cared about otherwise.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure there's branches of it that cares about like, the reputation and the advertisement of its properties in the West, but it would be secondary. Um, I think that and this the whole topic reminded me of when I was listening to the space heater. I was reminded that I've kind of dealt with this myself. Like I'm not a YouTuber, but I've uploaded personal videos to YouTube in the past, and one of them was copyright claimed by Japan. And it was really interesting. So the video was in, I guess, my last year of high school. I was in film class, and there was a music video project. And as someone who, even by grade 12, didn't really listen to a lot of mainstream music, the obvious choice from me was the vocal version of Bein' Friends from the Mother 1 album. Mother
Oh
being the
wow,
NES game known here as Earthbound Zero. So
wow.
in Japan, when Mother was released, there was this very weird part of the album with like a choir from somewhere in the UK, I think, vocal performers. My film teacher called the song Disney meets ABBA or something, but it's kind of surreal. But anyways, I used this song. Known as the default song for One Ed or On It in Smash Brothers, if anyone's curious. Um, and I used the song for my music video. For years, I uploaded it to YouTube. It just sat there. All of a sudden, probably over a decade after I uploaded it. So I uploaded it during the early days of YouTube, or at least relatively early. I got an email. It was copyright claimed from Sony Music Japan. Uh, and the interesting thing is, it is only copyright claimed in Japan. So while I was in Japan, I couldn't share that video, but it's still there and, functional, at least last time I checked, in, I think, every other country. And that's specifically to music. Like it was and still is very sensitive about its music. I'm surprised any Japanese pop song is on Spotify. Um, Famously, or not famously, but the DS and 3DS game Band Brothers had a ticket system. So when you bought the game, you had 40 songs you could download. And these were fan-made songs, but based off of licensed songs. So, because of that, they were, so sensitive to the copyright claims that they were like, okay, you can download 30 songs, but that's it. You can choose which ones they are, but once you use up all your tickets, no more. So, and of course, that game was never released in North America. So sorry for that tangent, but the point is, I'm surprised that, why didn't they just do that? Block the content in Japan, demonetize for Japan if that's possible these days. YouTube might have changed, but it just seems archaic to me. There must have been some workaround, but they decided not to go with it.
Yeah. And you're right. There's a lot of safeguards these days. For reference, I kept joking about Plastic Love, the city pop standard. And I even sent you a video of those two members of Hinatazaka 46 performing a cover of it for NHK. I saw a video of a live performance of the original artist, Maria Takeuchi, performing it with her husband. And the first couple comments were, "Ooh, it's here up again. Best to enjoy it before it gets taken down again." And, well, I mean, remember when we talked about Hatsuko and Kozu Murashita? Like, there are various versions of that, and regularly you'll see a recording of that song get taken down.
At least with this, I can understand, because there are so many YouTube to MP3 websites and apps out there that I can understand the sensitivity of, let's take this down. We need to preserve album sales to sell the CDs and 8-tracks here back in Japan. But,
and CDs and 8-tracks are probably still a thing with vinyl going up again. Yeah, sure.
But because I can understand, maybe Japan still has mini disc recordings too. Probably not, but
God, mini discs.
Never. I wouldn't put it past them. That's the thing.
But I get it with, songs, because even if it's like a PV or music video, you can just record the song and have a nice experience listening to the music, and they've lost a sale from the CD, or they've lost, 0.5 cents of a Spotify, playlist, I can get it. But with a transformative work, because with the situation with Toei, it was just reviews and commentary, right? I get Japan has different laws, but it's pure transformative criticism, parody, discussion. Oh no, a screenshot was used. I don't think this person was showing full episodes of Dragon Ball or One Piece or whatever he was talking about. It's ridiculous that they would, and claims like this happen all the time, but for so many videos to go down, I could see maybe there was one that, maybe they showed 5 minutes of footage and that's too much. But, it seems like it was way more of a, scorched earth approach kind of thing. It's just, boggles my mind as far as it's clearly criticism. It's clearly fandom expression of I love this series, or I want to talk about this series. And Japan doesn't understand that. And it's interesting because if I think to the, Nico trends or other YouTube or streaming trends with Japanese creators and audiences, they don't really have that commentary culture that, started here with things like the Angry Video Game Nerd and Nostalgia Critic. For whatever reason, that's just not the kind of thing that Japanese people find interesting. And I wonder if that's, or at least from what I could tell, or it never caught on there. And I wonder if that's part of the reason that they just don't conceive of this type of content, or they don't understand it.
I think this is all going to come to a head at some point. The entire copyright system, as more important people produce and put more stuff online, more criticism, more commentary related stuff. It's there's gonna have to be some kind of reckoning for this, because companies like this are just gonna keep abusing it. I mean, it's Toei tomorrow. It might be Fox. Fox is not a company anymore, but Disney, Nintendo. Company after company is gonna keep doing this over and over and over again until the laws are changed. And I think they might.
We are talking about fair use over lack of fair use.
Right.
That was a big crux in all of this.
And I'm pretty sure the lines are there in regards to what is considered fair use, litigation wise. But giant companies could just claim it's not, and then wait for the afterfall afterwards, right? It's on, I believe, like YouTube's onus to try to like mitigate this type of situation sooner rather than later, because if they wait on this type of stuff, it's not going to look good for them.
Well, you brought up reverberations, and I think one of the tweets that kind of made the rounds over the last couple of days is from the head of Anime News Network, Christopher McDonald, the editor in chief. He and Justin Savakis from Discotech, among other things, they had a to and fro. Justin started, "This is an incredibly bad look for at Toei Animation. They need to fire the company they're using for DMCA enforcement. That said, literally starting a company on someone else's platform using other people's copyright chars is kind of building your house on a fault line." So he kind of went both ways. But then Chris McDonald quickly responded by saying, ahem, "Toei Animation is infamously crappy about YouTube enforcement. They're the only company that has taken down A&N videos off of YouTube and refused to let them go back up after we made our case to them. Every other company has always agreed that our videos are fair use. I've talked to other lawyers in the anime sphere that are involved in issuing takedowns, and even within their circles, Toei Animation is known for being problematic and having no concept of fair use. To quote a well-informed lawyer, someone is going to sue Toei someday." And then he ended it by saying, "Result, of course, is that I'm less inclined to pay for our staff / freelancers to waste their time making videos about Toei stuff." And a shrug emoji.
That's the thing, though, right? Because like, if any company can get away with it, it might be Toei, because oh no, there's no one talking about Dragon Ball. It's still gonna sell a lot because it's Dragon Ball. So
Well, yeah, when you have two of the two titles like One Piece and Dragon Ball in your, yeah, I get it. So
I don't buy that building your empire on the backs of other people's content or something a little bit. Like, film criticism has existed for 100 years at this point, right? This is just the evolution of film criticism, at least if you do it properly. Like, if you're showing like full 10-minute clips from the movie and talking over it, I still think it's probably fair use if you are talking over it, but I can see the legal argument there in favor of the original content creation for sure. I'm not sure I would want that if I was any level of animation studio or what have you. But most of these, they're just showing like a screenshot in the background or in a letterboxed window, or a 5-second
picture in
clip.
picture.
Yeah, like
Sometimes a picture in picture, right?
yeah, and like people will do anything they can to like preserve their right to continue to do this. Like, they'll swap the image, they'll blur it, they'll make sure it's under 5 seconds. It's sad that you can't just say, "Here's a really cool scene, I want to talk about the animation of it." You just have to refer to it sometimes. And I do want to emphasize very sometimes and depending on the company, but that sucks for all the content creators, because they have to research, okay, which company is going to take me down? How am I going to factor this into my edits? Do I make like 3 different edits of this one video? Just to make sure and be safe? Like, they shouldn't have to do that. There should be very clear and understandable rules about, like, you can't show this amount of time, or you can't, play music at the same time. Your voice volume has to be, a certain amount louder than any audio you play. Only 2 lines per character per dialogue for purposes of showing the voice acting, performance, like stuff like that. But it's just arbitrary, and I imagine it's so frustrating for anyone who wants to analyze or criticize animation.
To your point, Geoff, and then I'll go to Mo. To your point, the NFL kind of does that. National Football League kind of has a guideline over how highlights are shown. And sometimes they give exclusivity for more longer form highlights to certain shows. I think that's sort of the deal that NBC has for Sunday night for Football Night in America, their recap show before the Sunday night game. They're allowed to show longer form highlights. And
Perfect. Do something
per
like that.
NFL. And then everybody else, they're when they show highlights, it's not allowed to be as long. But I mean, and the NFL has its own, image issues as well. But just putting that out there, Mo.
I feel like YouTube probably dropped the ball on this. The standards are set. This should be automated in a certain way, in the way that it's automated for them to flag these videos as being copyright infringement upon and have takedowns happen that way. YouTube should be on the sides of the creators and not the copyright holders, but at the same time, I understand why that's the case. I feel like I'm pretty sure there's like systems in place when you do stuff on YouTube that help you with this type of stuff when you're uploading videos to get auto checked ahead of time before being posted, to be like, hey, this thing you're posting has copyrighted material or so forth, right? But I don't know, it's
all social media is skewed to the advantage of the privileged, no matter what type of privilege that is. Like it's very sad. But it's just the way it's been set up because advertisers and big companies give these platforms money. So there's not a lot of incentive to change other than bad PR, and bad PR is happening, but I guess it needs to happen more for things to change.
Well, it's the pocketbook or the threat of what's the word I'm looking for?
Government.
Like a PR nightmare.
Yeah, no,
government
retribution. I feel like one of these people are going to become like a senator or something, and then like bring a bill that like just.
Well, that's it. I mean that's what Facebook is facing right now, right? Government crackdowns and controls.
I feel like that's a cliche.
Well, it's also grandstanding probably too.
Yeah. The kid whose father was murdered and then trains his entire life to murder the murderer of his father kind of situation, right? What is it, like the Princess Bride, Inigo Montoya, you killed my father, prepare to die kind of situation?
Obviously, this is now well, of course, one of those stories that'll keep going, and it's yet another wrinkle on issues we have already heard about. I mean, here we are starting our Twitch channel this week and our YouTube presence this week. And I made that joke. I'm hesitant to show a picture of the Kotaku article, but we showed it anyway. Kotaku, animeroundtable@gmail.com. Contact me. I think that's fair use. Don't know for sure.
I don't know why it wouldn't be. You're showing a screenshot of, like, you're not even showing any part of the article. You're just saying this article exists. Here's a piece of visual media to help illustrate what we're talking about. Like, it's...
I know.
It would be very silly if it was a problem.
Well, yeah, but we're just right now we are still 2-bit. Who knows if this thing gets big, this podcast gets any more popular, maybe they will pounce. Hard to say at this point. Well, no. First of all, let's get big. But I do want to save a word for Mark Fitzpatrick himself. Because I think yesterday he put up just a blank audio statement on his YouTube. Just a black screen with him saying he's going to take a break. He'll do one more video. That'll be it for 2021. He needs to take a step back. Clearly, this has taken quite the toll on him emotionally, mentally. And I said it in Twitter, and yes, he's been keeping. He has retweeted a lot of major mentions of what he's been going through because this has made rounds. Even the Philip DeFranco show has a
big piece on it.
the original YouTuber.
Although
The
to be fair, I mean, Phil's stance was to boycott Toei, and I feel like
well,
that's silly, man. It's like boycotting Coke. It's not going to happen.
yeah, yeah. But I feel for the guy, and I've stated, if you need a seat for you around this table is always there, is always there for them if they want to just sit down and calm their nerves and need a virtual drink. A real drink, however, is probably being given by our good friends at the Geek Ire podcast. I talked with Sean earlier just to see what he knew about him, and because he was Irish and Sean's Irish, and he mentioned to me, yes, he's from Cork in Ireland, and they're friends. Nice guy. We sang Rebel songs at Siacon, and he told me that they're trying to help him out. Everybody in Ireland and the UK are trying to give him some advice. He also added, it's scary and weird. I've seen AniTube situations like this before, but not this quickly. The hard part is most of the Japanese press won't cover this stuff online. And then he also referred me to Christopher McDonald's tweets. So yeah, we're all pulling for you. We're all pulling for you, Mark. Just so you're aware, because yeah, and from what I understand, the community has been very supportive. So if it's worth anything, but yeah, totally not Mark. Crew, finish up what you need to do. Get some rest. As I said, I think the community has your back. Okay. Let's get to the other major story this week. The Netflix algorithm giveth, the Netflix algorithm taketh away. As word came down on Thursday that the Cowboy Bebop live action has been canceled. To the surprise of many, and frankly to the delight of quite a few. Okay, who wants to take a salvo? Give me a thought. How many have seen it now? Your thoughts on the live action? Just what do you want to say?
So I've seen. So I'd watched the anime for the first time this year, just before the live action came out. I finished it, then I watched the live action. I'm saddened that there won't be a second season. I'm even more saddened by the reaction to everyone of the current live action. And then I'm saddened that it sucks that this happened. I don't know, man. It sucks, man.
You liked it.
I liked the live action. I did. I mean, was it the greatest thing in the world? Obviously not. There were some artistic liberties taken, but let's not forget, this show isn't yours. The show isn't mine. The show belongs to one person only. And he himself was a consultant all this live action. He gave it the green light. He said that this is what he wants. This is what he's good with. And if he was at any point not good with it, no matter how big the dump truck of money they gave him was, he would have said something, right? And he didn't. He said this was good. He put his name to it. A lot of the original cast came back for it to do voices and so forth. Soundtrack was good. I liked it. I liked it so much. Jet was amazing. Vicious, but you can't win them all. It sucks that we won't get more.
Kevin,
I've seen the first 2 episodes. I do intend on finishing it. I just am going at it at my glacial pace that I usually do. I like what I've seen so far. I do understand the criticisms. I do think that Jet is the best of the trio. I do think Faye is the weakest of the trio, even though I don't inherently dislike Danielle Pineda's. uh, acting. I think it's fine. I don't mind. I don't mind it being a little different from the Faye that I know from the anime, but I do think. How do I put this? It's not quite Faye in a way, but at the same time, that didn't bother me. But I can definitely see it bothering other people.
All right, I'm gonna have to jump in real quick. Kevin, finish the 10 episodes and then come back in a couple of weeks, and then you'll change your mind 1,000%. I guarantee you.
I likely won't finish the show until February, to be honest.
a few months is good. A few months is good.
Because like I've said before, this is a dinner show for me, and right now I'm not in a position to watch it while I eat dinner. So that means I won't be finishing it for quite a while.
No, I totally get it, but I feel like the criticism that people have of of Daniela's performance as Faye. If you watch the full 10 episodes, there's a couple of like Faye-centric episodes in there that will change your mind on her performance, on everything. There's something that happens in episode 10 that I can understand why fans would be upset by, and I'm not talking about Ed, because you guys are monsters for what you did to Ed. No, but it's just, honestly, if you watch it, I believe more. It's the type of thing where I guarantee you in like 6 months, when everyone's fully watched it, and we'll come back and be like, oh man, I was wrong. That was actually not bad. And I feel bad for what I said. I want that to happen to the internet. I want people to be like, I was wrong. It's the internet, so it's not going to happen.
Those people will not finish it, though.
Because that's the worst part about it.
Those people weren't giving it... Okay, I shouldn't say all of them were like this, but the majority of the naysayers, as we've discussed in past episodes, were geared to hate this show with every fiber of their being.
Thank you.
I try not to use cliches. That's why I was pausing a little bit. But and this is why I never cared about things being different, because if I wanted the same thing, I'd go watch the original source material. I would go watch the anime. But unfortunately, with anime fandom, this is largely not the case. They want their anime adaptation of Monster, where it was basically panel for panel, shot for shot. And, and I hate to say it, but as much as I, thought it was fine, like that, I think that was just my gut reaction. I was like, yeah, this is fine. Like, I like it, but I didn't love it like I did with the anime. I do feel, when I can see why some people say that the live action adaptation doesn't have a soul. That's very unfair to the live action, but I kind of get why people say that.
Well, okay, I'm going to re-ask the yes/no I asked Geoff and James last week to you two. Was Cowboy Bebop live action always going to be a Kobayashi Maru situation?
It didn't have to be.
What do you mean? Can you elaborate on that?
Oh, it's a no-win situation.
I want to say no, because sure, like Watanabe can okay certain things, but in the end, does that translate to a positive reaction to the audience? We don't know. It's hard to say, right?
I understand that, but I feel like if the original creator of the show greenlights, like if he wanted it, like if Watanabe came out and was like, oh, I'm making 26 new episodes season of Cowboy Bebop, animated and so forth, would the audiences be like, no, you can't do that, right? Like, would they be that hellbound on saying no to new material? Even like a reimagining. I mean, it's just
reimaginings are happening.
It's yeah,
and that's why everyone loves the Star Wars prequels, because the original creator came back and gave his original vision. of glorious pod racing for everyone. And the
Oh,
world rejoiced because thank goodness the original creator came back to right the ship and give us new material from his beloved universe.
where is that bucket so I can puke in it?
Episode 1 is probably my second favorite Star Wars.
Okay.
Actually,
I got a bad feeling
My-
about this.
My Star Wars ranking. I am not the biggest Star Wars fan. My Star Wars ranking is probably number 1, The Mandalorian. Number 2, Seagull Stop It Now. That weird fake fan dub music video.
oh god.
Number 3, the episode of the Gendy Tarakovsky animated thing with Kit Fisto, the weird Zora fish guy who jumps around.
You can always count on him to do good stuff.
Number 4, the rest of that animated series, and then I guess number 5, episode 1, and then 6, the first one of the new trilogy.
Wait, no last Jedi. What's happening here?
Which one's that? Is that the latest one? Is that the movie? Is that the movie that made fans of the first one and the second one angry, which was ridiculous? Anyways,
Probably. Yes.
My point of all of this is that, like, the original creators of a fictional media series, yeah, they can have clout. I think that the creators of Avatar: The Last Airbender leaving the Netflix series made a statement. I don't know if the series is going to be good. The casting looks good. What little we've seen of the graphics look good. But there's still the stink of the M. Night Shyamalan movie. And you know, in both cases, the original creators were on board at first and then backed away. Versus Cowboy Bebop, it looks like it's almost the opposite situation, where the original creator was like not involved and they got involved a little bit. So I don't know how much value the original creator's involvement has. We'll find out for sure when the Mario movie comes out.
All right, a couple thoughts. One, no, and these are all unrelated, but just maybe following up as well. Okay.
I've started a trend of tangent, so it's okay.
My
No,
favorite's
it's-
episode 8, by the way.
No, I don't really know what to add about Last Airbender. It's just like I was never an Avatar fan, so I never watched it. But I get it. I understand. You know what happens when the whole bit about the creator walking away. I just don't know what else to add to that. And it's one of those we'll see things. But boy, that's just added gasoline to that fire too.
I mean, I feel like it all comes down to: do you want? Does everyone want a shot-for-shot remake of what you've already had, or a reimagining or retelling? Right?
Well, and that's part of the the to and fro I had in the unofficial on the unofficial Anime North page.
Yeah.
If you want to, people wanted the 1-for-1, but then again, what's the point of a 1-for-1? It's kind of a waste of. Now there's the waste.
Yeah,
right
no.
there.
I mean, for that situation, I honestly feel like, ain't
nobody got time for that.
right.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about that.
Everyone,
Oh, by the way, Mo has the sound effects machine on his computer this week. Kevin,
Regarding reimaginings, like, if it's well executed, then it's fine. Like, Tatsunoko was reimagining a few of their old properties over the past 10, 15 years or so. Like, Yatterman Night was a pretty intriguing and I'm pretty sure it was a well-received adaptation of the original Yatterman. It completely turned the premise over its head.
yeah, that was great. Like, I wouldn't even say that's an interpretation of the original Yatterman. I think it's just like using that source material to create something new and cerebral and fun and fascinating. Like, that was great.
And good point. And look at Devilman Crybaby. Look how that exploded. No one gave a shit about Devilman except for old men up until that anime came out. And now look at it. It was so popular for a while.
A similar thing happened, well, but there was a opposite reaction with Kevin Smith's He-Man. Because oh no, he made a female as the protagonist.
Have you seen season 2 yet?
Ooh.
Or
Yeah, it's
part 2
great.
yet?
Great.
Part 2 was great. I liked it.
The
I
entire
liked it.
show is good. Like I don't people like it's just frat boys that are now 50 going like, oh, I want my He-Man just fighting Skeletor over and over again. They don't know what they want. I'm bitter about their reaction to it. Like if you don't like it, fine, but like I don't like the complaints that they give.
Evan?
And going back to Star Wars briefly, I did want to elaborate why I liked Episode 8, and that's because I feel like the Star Wars fandom is just, by and large, very like set in their ways. They want certain things, and I will say up front that I'm going to be paraphrasing Zach Birchie's opinion on Episode 8 because I ended up agreeing with his thoughts on it, but I thought it was a message of like, look, the Star Wars you know and loved should die, and it should be reborn for a new generation that can also appreciate this franchise just as much as you do, albeit in a possibly different way. It's a good way. I thought it was a great way of, like, I figured the way that so if you didn't watch Episode 8, I'm going to spoil some of it. The way that they kill Luke Skywalker at the end of that movie, like, I was just like, wow, like it's like they're really trying to, in a way, reboot this franchise and really try and let the new cast stand on its own. And then Episode 9 happened because all the fanboys fucking complained and they switched directors and Disney caved, and we all know how that ended out.
8 is the one with the sacred texts, right?
Yep, and the more.
I love the sacred text scene so much. It is so funny and so like basically reflecting everything Kevin just said. Yeah, I think 9 just made everyone unhappy. People who liked, I guess 7 made them upset. People who liked 8 made them upset. People who hated both of them made them upset. It really unified everyone.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, if it's like by committee to see who can. It's like a race to see who can upset the most people, right?
Oh.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Star Wars Roundtable podcast, coming
Yeah.
from the 6 Point Studio
And I
on
say this as
Dagobah.
somebody who really isn't that big a fan of Star Wars either. Like, I've only watched bits and pieces of the original trilogy, and like did not watch. I think I watched 2/3 of Episode 1, and then I watched 2 and 3 in theaters. And then
I like Star Trek.
Well, you bring up Star Trek and Star Wars. And just as a quick Star Wars aside, my best friend, who I've mentioned before, he will probably have a debate with you about the purpose of doing the last trilogy, because his feelings was always Star Wars was about Anakin. It should have ended with Return of the Jedi. That's his feelings. And I think you can have an intelligent discussion about that.
But then they couldn't make the monies.
Well, as Wu-Tang Clan so astutely says,
God damn it, Mike.
cash rules everything around me. Get the money, dollar bill, y'all. I know. I haven't done that in a couple months.
Thank you.
So there's that. But keep in mind, you remember going back to Star Trek, since we brought up Star Trek last week, the Kelvin movies basically clean slated everything. Clean slated what would happen in the original series. And made a good logical reason for it. And it was impressive how they did that.
It's amazing that they made a separate timeline canon to the original timeline. Like,
the way they did that.
Golf clap for that. That was well done.
I still marvel at that more than roughly 12 years later. Probably more. I think it was longer.
2009, yeah.
Yeah. But I marvel at that. I really respected how they did that. And now, tying this all back to Cowboy Bebop before we end this, or as I start to wind down this thought. One of the episodes of the live action series told the story of Vicious and Spike's friendship and how it deteriorated. It was a story that's never really explored in the anime. I really appreciated the attempt.
Did you really?
I really did.
What? Honestly, I thought that was one of the weaker episodes.
You thought it was a weak episode?
I did.
I liked it though. I liked how they tried to try and explain how their friendship deteriorated. We just know it happened.
For me, Vicious in the live action was not good.
Well, you thought he was a weak link, right?
I mean, in the anime, he's just so, because you see so little of him in the anime, he's so menacing, right? And when you do see him, he doesn't speak that often. He's just, he's just vicious. And in the anime, in the live action, he's like some brat, some whiny little brat who happens to,
Of course, we know part of that story, and there's some of that creative license that I think people really didn't stand.
I mean,
I thought Vicious was amusing. I thought Vicious was pretty amusing for that reason. But I can definitely see Mohamed's complaints, and I do think less of Vicious in this way as a character in the live action, but entertaining.
I saw a tweet that described him as the guy from The Witcher if he discovered NFTs.
Yes, that's a good.
I don't really know what any of those elements mean put together, but I saw that tweet and thought it was funny. I just saw while scrolling. I'm sorry, I can't reference who made it.
Oh, you want to say anything else, or I'll a
criticism that I saw a lot of was that John Cho's casting was wrong because he's too old, and how Spike's in his 20s and so forth. To those people, like, have they not watched the anime? Like, what's going on here? Like, Spike, sure, he's like what, late 20s, but he doesn't act like it didn't make sense that was a criticism of him being too old, because that never came up. That was never brought up.
At the same time, people are saying, "Oh, Keanu Reeves should have played him." How old's Keanu Reeves? Older.
Yep, exactly. And even when
and everyone loves Keanu Reeves, and rightfully so.
I get that part.
You guys, you got to pick a lane, man. You can't have your cake and eat it. You can't be like, you need a faithful adaptation.
Well, I get it. Pick your battles here. Keanu Reeves is God knows how many years older than John Cho. These were probably the same people who criticized John Cho's casting in the first place.
It's like
you're breathtaking.
Who are you saying that?
No, just as a quote Keanu Reeves quote.
But it's like hating vanilla ice cream but loving French vanilla ice cream. You know?
Thank you. Well said. So, and I want to bring up one other thing, and this is kind of unrelated to very much unrelated, but kind of comes back to it as well. Some of what we've just talked about. Remember Tim Burton's interpretation of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory? 15 some odd years ago.
Mm.
And they added an origin story to Willy Wonka that he made his candy empire based on a fallout he had with his father, who was a dentist. That was that part of the story. The origin story, his father was creative license. That was added by Tim Burton. But it was approved by the estate of Roald Dahl, the author of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And I thought that made for an interesting setup, because that's meant as the prologue to the movie. His fallout from with his father. And it added another heart to the movie that kind of made the ride a lot more emotional as he saw, how close Charlie was to his family. Sorry. I mean, yeah. Sorry. Go ahead, Kevin.
Oh, this is a bit off topic, but it reminds me of how in the Drops of God, Shizuku Kanzaki uh hated his father's work as uh a wine lover, or not his job, but like he hated his dad and his passion for wine so much that he went to go work for a beer company. It just reminded me of that.
Yeah, there you go.
And then that set the tone for how he had to fight his newly adoptive brother for his dad's estate after his dad died. And this is all happens in the first like 2 chapters, so it's not a spoiler.
But these are good. But those type of things, I take fascination. Mo.
Oh, I was just gonna say that Netflix now owns the Roald Dahl catalog.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That was mentioned a few months ago.
Is
So
the origin
Netflix haters, brace yourself.
The Willy Wonka origin isn't direct to Netflix, though, is it? Like I thought that was theatrical.
That was the beginning of the Tim Burton movie.
No, there's a new Willy Wonka origin movie coming out. Where he's a young man.
I think it's Universal, but I'm not 100% sure. But I do know that Netflix now owns the entire category.
It might have been in production before the buyout, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Before we, I guess, leave Cowboy Bebop, I do want to say sort of a word of, I guess, not mourning, but concern and disappointment for Ed's actor. Just because.
Can we talk about Eden Perkins after? I just want to ask one final thing, and then you're right. We'll end on Eden Perkins here. One last thing, yes or no? The producers of the live action One Piece should be worried.
Yes, very much so. If they value a career, not a career, but if they I don't know, like run. Like if you sign contracts, break them, leave now, because you see what's gonna happen. This is gonna be a repeat. I think they're releasing One Piece next year, the year after. Same thing with the Gundam live action. Same thing with the Yu Yu Hakusho live action. Any live actions that are coming down the pipeline, run.
I don't like that attitude. I don't think that the industry should just give up on adaptation. I think that's so sad. I mean, I think they should be worried.
100%.
I bet they regret having that huge casting announcement with such positivity. I love how positive the cast was. They are so excited. I think I've mentioned the Nami actor changed all of her profile pictures to Nami. Everyone seems so excited. I mean, legitimately excited to be part of this project. But they have all these characters. Like they don't go up to Robin or anything, but are they going to cram how many chapters into the first season to have all of these first 5 characters in the show? I don't know if that bodes well for it. Like not even, we haven't seen any screenshots or concept art or anything. But definitely One Piece is so tricky to adapt. I'm curious about how that goes, but I think that people just need to be more selective about what they create and how they create it and in what format. Like, I think we mentioned last time that Cowboy Bebop was episodic and they tried to turn it into a bingeable show. Maybe that backfired. What is going to happen to One Piece? It seems like they're going to try to condense it plot-wise. And I think I'm not a big One Piece fan. I haven't seen a lot of it, but from what I can see, a lot of the appeal comes from the very slow growing of these characters and their relationships together and exploring sort of new problems to help form these bonds and test them. And I don't think that a condensed Netflix show is going to, respect that very much. If you want to do an adaptation, pick a short series that can be adapted and changed. Death Note was a good choice. The result maybe wasn't amazing because I think they took too many half measures, but shows like that you can actually fully change and adapt while keeping the spirit, more of that will work, but they want to choose the big popular things that sell toys and t-shirts, so it will probably continue to fail.
Kevin?
I agree with Geoff. Honestly, I'd never liked that thought process either of, oh, you shouldn't like adapt anime period, like, oh, it's hopeless, oh, it doesn't translate the same way that it would in animation. Like, that's such a defeatist attitude, and I'd rather them try and make mistakes than to have not tried at all. Like, yes, there are plenty of bad examples on both sides of the Pacific, or on the other side of the world if we're talking like European adaptations. But like, let them try. Like, you never know how it's going to turn out, and honestly, it's just annoying because I'd rather just see something new. I'd rather see something different. Like, sure, if it's the same thing, that's fine. But if the director wants to take their own spin on it, I'm okay too. Whether or not it's good or not was a different story. But I'd rather just see people try.
I mean, I feel like I might have came off a bit dismissive there, but I enjoyed it. I mean, like,
and I don't think you were being dismissive, Mohamed. Like, I think your point's valid. I think the One Piece creatives need to be worried. I'm sure I would like to think that they took notice of this happening, so maybe that gives them an impetus to try and work a little harder, or maybe really try and understand what makes One Piece or Gundam successful. I think of I don't remember where I read this, but someone was commenting on, in regards to Cowboy Bebop, how when Shinichiro Watanabe was creating it, like, he was influenced by jazz, he was influenced by like martial arts, he was influenced by all these different things, and that's what led Cowboy Bebop to become what it is. And then you look at the live action Cowboy Bebop, and they were just trying to recreate Cowboy Bebop. It's as if maybe they didn't understand fully why it was successful, or maybe they did, but they just didn't execute it well enough. Well, ultimately, they didn't execute it well enough. So I think that it's just gonna be. I don't know. Like, I'm a little worried for those adaptations as well, but you know what? I can't do anything about it. All I can do is just give it a shot, and I'll evaluate from there.
It would be helpful if we knew exactly why Netflix canceled it. I mean, I'm assuming
The words we, at least in the reports, were combination of prospective future viewership paired up with cost to make. So in other words, it just couldn't justify the cost. So, my take, I think you won't surprise you. In order to find the formula, you have to keep experimenting. And as I said, this is going to keep happening. I stressed that last week, and people have to relax about that. That's just my take. It's just going to keep happening. This is part of the ecosystem now.
There were quite a few bad Marvel movies before we got Spider-Man.
Yes. And I think it was just because the to and fro I had with the back on the Facebook group earlier this week. One minute you have somebody saying they shouldn't even make an attempt to live action adapt an anime, and then the next minute that same person will say, "Oh, but I'd love to see a live action property turned into an animation."
Yeah, man, it's like, how dare they how dare they make Cowboy Bebop? But I sure would like to see a Samurai Champloo.
That would be amazing. I'd love to see a live action Samurai Champloo.
I think the action could be a little better.
Monkey paw incoming.
Okay. All right. Let's save a word for Eden Perkins. Geoff, go ahead.
So, I guess not before it came out, but essentially the day that the Netflix live action was released, then probably the main video clip circling was this one clip of the Ed scene with people mocking it pretty much endlessly. I still see it as of yesterday. Memes of, you, if you go to college, you will meet this person in first year, or this is the person you must avoid when you first go to anime conventions, and so on and so forth, just with this one screenshot from that scene. I didn't get to that point in the series when I watched it, but I did see that clip. And, to use the vernacular, I can get the cringe elements of it. Like, it's not the greatest first impression, especially out of context. I would maybe agree with the criticism of maybe this one was adapted too closely. However, all that being said, I think it is, maybe a small t tragedy that we'll never get to see this actor try out to perform this fairly beloved character who I'm excited to learn about when I do get around to finishing or continuing the animated series. Although, the interpretation, I think, in the original is more androgynous versus non-binary, I think a lot of non-binary people see this as, representation, and good representation. I've seen multiple reviews and quotes for the original series saying Ed and to some extent Ein are the wisest and smartest and most, stable parts of the crew, and the sort of glue that holds everything together. So this was a very important character on multiple fronts, and to get such a horrible and hateful first impression followed by cancellation, I think is incredibly sad. And I hope that they get other acting opportunities in the future, and this doesn't, like, unless it's what they want, and to stop, this process in their lives. If acting is important to them, if it's something that they want to pursue, I hope that it's not the outright discouragement. I hope it's something that they can laugh about in future Comic-Con panels, and sort of, say, I wish I had the the chance to, develop this character and learn more about them. Yeah, I just think it's very sad from a number of levels. I get the criticism. It is not a great first impression, but the cancellation, I think, when I heard about the cancellation, that is the main thing that I thought about and got sad about. Like, this is going to be a stain on the character and potentially the actor, and I hope not, but potentially non-binary representation in general. Hopefully not, but you never know.
And just to backtrack for a couple seconds, Eden Perkins is non-binary.
Yeah, I meant the character in the original animation, I think, was more androgynous. That's what I was referring to.
Oh, no, I mean, but in case people weren't aware of
Okay, yeah.
Eden Perkins. And, yeah. My take on Ed, just in that couple seconds, at least the type of language, maybe not as much the overly excited tone, but I could see some similarities with the dub version. Ed.
Oh, it was spot on, man.
I thought we were at least on the right track. Maybe a little bit, maybe more bullet train as opposed to traditional locomotive. But we were in the ballpark, I think. I thought it wasn't that bad. And maybe it is the fault of the writing. And a lot of people like to fault the writing in the cancellation here. But I kind of lament what could have been. Because as I said, I was really curious to see what they would do next. So, kind of sad there. Okay, well, we're almost done this evening, but before we go, let's commemorate a few people this week in memoriam. couple obituaries, couple people in our fandom passed away. This hasn't been a good week for the Cowboy Bebop title. Keiko Nobumoto, prolific anime writer behind Cowboy Bebop, Macross Plus, among other titles, dies at the age of 57. Contributed to Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2. I'm trying to look up some of her credits here. Tokyo Godfathers, Wolf's Rain.
Wolf's Rain.
Yeah. I mean, this is the screenwriter.
Wolf's Rain still holds up incredibly well.
Also contributed scripts for Space Dandy and Samurai Champloo. No, it makes sense, I guess. If she worked on Cowboy Bebop as well.
I have to say, this is not really related to Keiko Nobumoto, but I always thought that Samurai Champloo was better than Cowboy Bebop.
Kevin, I need you to leave forever.
Okay. So Nobumoto. So this is.
We can talk about this later, Mo.
Later, come back into the live audience whenever we start doing that again. So sad to hear about that. I know it's fresh. This was a few days ago. I get it. It's just last week.
But I will say, the writing in Wolf's Rain is fantastic. It starts off a little slow, but tension does build up and it ebbs and flows. But those last 4 episodes, or the OV episodes, absolutely brutal in all the best ways. It's such a heart-wrenching show, and I feel like nowadays, like, older fans really do appreciate that show now, even after all this time. So yeah, I don't know if it's legally streaming, but if it is, please go watch that show.
The other name we want to bring up this evening, Masayuki Uemura, the main architect behind the Famicom and the Super Famicom, or what we know as the Nintendo Entertainment System and the Super Nintendo, passed away this week, or it was known he passed away this week at the age of 78. He actually retired, I think, from Nintendo in, I think, 2004 it was, and was teaching at a university. And it was the university that announced his passing. Ritsumeikan University. That's where he taught after he retired from Nintendo.
I think that this passing is kind of poignant because, with Gunpei Yokoi passing many years ago now, I guess, we don't have situations where there are architects or consoles that are the brainchildren of specific people anymore. Like, it's so much committee now. But back in the day, they were considered almost like independent projects. Like, I know that there was still probably a team around their designment and construction, but you don't have these singular people who are around the design process. It's there's probably so many levels of committee and reevaluation and redesign and discussions. And I don't imagine, it's kind of sad because it shows maybe how long the industry has been around, but I don't imagine there are many left, if any, that could be called like sort of pure architects of these sorts of things.
obviously his involvement really changed the industry, or what eventually came out, changed the trajectory of the industry completely. And this is where my regret, where James isn't here tonight, because I know he would speak a lot more to this. But imagine what it would have been like without the NES and the Super NES. Got the ball rolling, especially since the console industry was spinning its wheels at that point. Some nice little photos of Uemura I saw circulate in the last couple days. One with him standing beside the Nintendo Entertainment System, the Western version of his creation. And another just sitting in a traditional Japanese house, playing a game, smiling and laughing.
That's good.
Sitting cross-legged. And those two photos I just took away from the announcement this week. So once again, Keiko Nobumoto gone at the age of 57, Masayuki Uemura gone at the age of 78. Okay, finally, before we go tonight, just one thing that I think some of us will be looking forward to. Discotech Media will have its Discotech Day. We are taping this on Sunday the 12th. Discotech Day happens tomorrow from this recording, December 13th, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Discotech is probably going to do another slew of announcements and updates. Usually this is pretty much the event watching of the pandemic these days on Twitch. I'm pretty sure many people will be looking forward to that. Is there something you think will happen? Any of you? It sounds like Kevin.
I don't know. We're
not putting money on this. Or somebody's.
I don't know what's gonna happen. Like I always enjoy watching them when I remember to go watch them. So that's really all I gotta say. Like I know, Mike and Justin are usually very entertaining. They put on a good show.
Yeah, they're as I said, they've been friends for years. All of them, they have a certain chemistry with each other. So yeah, their banter always makes it entertaining. So worth the watch, even if it's just for that. But I'm sure there's going to be some curiosity as to what comes out, and obviously we'll have something to say about that, as will the rest of probably the fandom, the older fandom.
So Mike,
yes,
I do gotta say one thing that was covered in the Space Heater last week.
Oh, the one where we actually showed our faces for once?
Yeah.
Okay.
Kodansha Comics USA, you fucking blew it with Tokyo Revengers. I was shocked that 7 Seas picked up the physical license, and congratulations to them, truly, because they were willing to take that risk, or what was seen as a perceived risk, in Tokyo Avengers, whereas Kodansha did not. I don't know how true this is, but the supposed rumor was that, of course, Kodansha had first right of refusal on Tokyo Revengers. The thing is that they didn't jump on this series when the license was likely still relatively affordable. Because what in the Discord group that I'm a part of with the manga collecting, the supposed rumor is that Kodansha Comics USA ran into a Bandai situation of years past. So, in case people aren't aware, yes, there's Kodansha USA and there's Kodansha of Japan, but it's not as if they just get these licenses for free. the North American subsidiary would have to technically pay for this license. They don't just get these handed over to them free of
Sort of
charge.
like
So
almost Sony.
the rumor was that they had a chance to do print and physical off the bat, but they decided to go print digital only because this is something that Kodansha tends to do nowadays with most of their properties, where they will go digital first, then see how it does, and then maybe they'll do physical later if the digital sales justify it, or whatever factors that we're not aware of. So what likely happened was that since Tokyo Revengers then blew up once the anime came out, Kodansha in Japan's like, whoa, like, hey, we need to ask this much now because it's such a successful property here. And Kodansha Comics USA probably thought like, oh, like that's a lot of money. We can't justify this anymore. Like, this is going to be pretty risky because, to be fair, the manga is starting to get a little long. I think it is like roughly around the 20 volume mark. That would cost a lot of money, and sometimes you really don't know if the popularity of a manga is gonna really translate into sales, especially if the manga is long. Because if you look at Yowamushi Pedal and Yen Press, like, Yen Press is taking a bloodbath on that manga now, because even though, yes, Yowamushi Pedal was pretty popular, Yowamushi Pedal is 70 volumes and going strong in Japan. So perhaps they thought that, oh, we don't know if, it's going to be costly. We don't know if we can justify these numbers, and they decide not to go forward with it.
We've had this conversation.
Yeah, but Seven Seas decided it was worth that risk. So clearly Kodansha Comics USA refused, so then other companies had that opportunity, and so Seven Seas seized that opportunity. And I'm curious to see how it will pan out for them, because the longevity of Tokyo Revengers does remain to be seen, but kudos to them, and God damn it, Kodansha, you let one slip from your fingers.
Nothing like calculated risk. Kind of like starting a stream. Thanks for the thought, Kevin. Well, Mo, Geoff, you have a final thought?
Please watch live action. I know it's been canceled, but it's still up there. Please watch it.
I'll try to finish it.
I would try to shill. I would try to shill for Shaman King, but it's being made. I think it's pretty safe. They're just gonna finish dubbing it.
No need to rub it in, man. Come on.
I feel safe.
And that's all we have for tonight. First time listening? Once again, we'd love to hear from you. AnimeRoundtable@gmail.com, @AnimeRoundtable, AnimeRoundtable.com, Twitch.tv/AnimeRoundtable, and we'll put a link to the YouTube channel as well. As always, word of mouth is appreciated, so tell your friends about the show if you think they'll like it. And don't forget to leave us a review if you can, wherever you're listening or watching this, because reviews and good ones may help the algorithm shine its fortune on us. How many stars?
5.
We typically do regular episodes once every other week. It is changing a little bit. We are trying to be a little bit more frequent with that and the other stuff we're going to start presenting now that we have our YouTube and Twitch up and running. So, with that said, subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on Twitch or Twitter or Instagram, so you can be notified whenever we add something new. And once again, since I mentioned it last week, and it had been a while since I had mentioned it, in the meantime, check out our playlist on Spotify, which has music inspired by many of the things we talk about here.
Yeah, it's probably a good thing that I don't have control over that, because there'd probably be a lot of K-pop on it otherwise.
Yeah, hold on.
Well, I throw in some Japanese stuff too, but
Yeah, we can start another playlist, you know. Well, give it a listen. Good for that commute or that long drive, which I took today. So until next time we're online, thanks for listening in. Good night from Toronto. Join us again for another edition of the Anime Roundtable.